Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Welcome to another new game stuff video. As well, I think I'm just going to use this video to talk about my time at KingCon. Initially my plan was to do that as a separate video, but it's been a couple of weeks or 3 weeks since that event took place. There's been a lot of stuff kind of going on that's got in the way of working on some videos, but I'm just going to loop it all into this one video. So at the end we'll talk about my time at KingCon. But first, like I said, this is sort of a new stuff video. This is going to be mostly gaming related, but there are a couple of other things here that appeal to my other hobbies or other interests besides just tabletop RPGs. Before we begin, though, I do have a couple of items that I honestly don't know if I had actually shown in any of these other videos, so I'm just going to get these out of the way really quickly. But these are some things that I've had for a while. I just genuinely cannot recall if I ever actually mentioned them in video or not. So the first one here is the Bladeunner role-playing game, Case File 2 Fiery Angels. I'm actually in the middle of running this. We just had our first session a few days ago. This is Tuesday, so it would have been the previous Friday at the time that I'm recording this video. And I got a lot to say about the Bladeunner role-playing game. I will just leave it at this. I think that it's an amazing system. It's an incredible blast to run, and yeah, I definitely want to do a more in-depth talk about the Bladeunner RPG, especially the products that Free League put out for it. I do feel a little bit sad, though, because this is part of a trilogy, and the third scenario hasn't really been announced yet, nor has like a release date or anything like that either been provided. So I'm a little bit concerned that it's going to be a long break between Case File 2 and Case File 3, but I just really enjoying the story as it's progressing. And yeah, this is a really, really cool box set. I'll be doing a more in-depth video on it here in the near future. So we've got that. Another box set that, again, I don't know if I actually had shown off in a video. It's still sealed. I haven't opened it up yet. But I would see this advertised on, like, all over, Blue Sky and Facebook, and I think even on, like, their YouTube channel. So this is from Modifius, and this is the Dreams and Machines RPG starter set. So I'd seen this advertised quite a few times, and it just, it kind of caught my interest or my attention. So I decided to go ahead and pick this up. I ordered it from 401 Games. Modifius did have a really great sale on. It was like a 40 or 50% sale. Or something. No, maybe it was about 30. It might have been a 30% off sale. Anyway, they had a really good sale on this, but ordering it from their website, the shipping cost was going to be like $50. So I would love to see a reduced shipping prices to ship out to like Canada. I don't know what it's like for like the US shipping or anything like that, but the shipping would have more than offset the savings and then some. So I ended up ordering this from 401 Games in Toronto. But yeah, this looks like it's kind of like an interesting role-playing game, and I just thought, why not? It is a starter set, and I do have a weakness for those, and this will be something that eventually will be appearing on my Starter Set Saturday series, which the next video for that will be coming out at the end of this week. So those are two things that I don't know if I'd shown off in other videos before or not, but we do have a couple of other things that are related to my outside tabletop RPG interests. The first one here, and I don't know if I've shown the others either, so I might do a video on all of them in the near future. I'm actually waiting for another set to arrive in the mail, which hopefully will show up sometime this week. But I have a Nintendo Switch. We have a Switch 2. I have the expansion for the online pass, and a little while ago I picked up the N64 controller. When the Switch 2 came out, I ordered the GameCube controller as well as the Super Nintendo controller, and here is the Sega Genesis controller. So I actually haven't even opened this yet. I've had this for a couple of weeks, I think, at this point. And I will say, like all the other like first like Nintendo controllers, they just come in a red box with like a plastic window that you can see the controller through. And I gotta say, I think I like the idea of the of actually having like the packaging resemble what it would have been like back in the day. Like it would be really cool if the N64 controller had like the the controller on the front, like artwork of it that was on the original boxes with the multicolored sides and stuff like that. I think it would be pretty cool. Same thing with the SNES controller. And the GameCube controller. Although I don't know if the GameCube controllers ever came in a box, so that might be a little bit different there. The ones that I ever saw were in like blister packs. But anyway, so just wanted to get this. I was buying all the other controllers, so I figured why not grab this one as well. So we got the Sega Genesis controller. And I was also out recently back to Dartmouth, where we had lived there for a few years before we bought our house. And I went to the Micmac Mall there, and they have a music store called Sunrise Records. And I love going into that store. I was buying, before we moved, I was buying like my CDs and DVDs and T-shirts and all kinds of stuff like that there. And they actually had something that I didn't think that I would find there. And that was one of the albums from my favorite band. And they've had some distribution issues, I guess, in the past with other albums. Like I had ordered some custom that, months and months and months and years have passed, and they still haven't been able to bring in. So I was genuinely surprised when I was there and I saw the newest Cradle of Filth album, The Screaming of the Valkyries. So they've only been able to get their live albums in for the last like 4 or 5 years. So this is an actual studio album, so it's really cool to see that they actually had this in stock. I'm wondering if it's because they're with a different label there. It is still sealed. I do have Spotify, and I don't actually own a CD player anymore. The only thing that I can really play CDs in would be my Xbox, and that's upstairs. If I'm listening to music, I'm usually downstairs on my computer anyway. So, but I wanted this for the physical collection there, because like I said, my absolute favorite band. And I decided, the heck with it, I was just going to pull the trigger. And I decided to order the other 2 albums that I was missing. Technically, there's a third. Although that one I couldn't even find on Amazon, and I don't really want to go through like second party or third party, not second party, but like third party sellers. But I picked up the Cradle of Filth album, Existence is Futile. It did come a little cracked. Unfortunately, the CD, the jewel case is a little bit cracked. I'm sure I've got other like of these see-through cases that for bands that I don't care for as much. So I might open that up and switch it out there. But again, we have that one, and then I also wanted to get this one because it was the first album I ever bought for one specific reason, and that is the Cruelty and the Beast Remistress. So this was their 1998 album, I think it was, that came out, and it has a cover of Hallowed Be Thy Name. And that was, for the longest time, that was my favorite Iron Maiden song. And then a buddy of mine played me the Cradle of Filth version, and it blew me away. Like, I as much as I like the Iron Maiden version, the Cradle cover, is my favorite version of that song. And it's just a really awesome album on top of it. Again, music isn't for everybody, but I really like this one, so... this was one of the first albums I ever picked up. The only one that I'm missing now is the Dusk and Her Embrace, the original Sin, which was recorded in the same style as the Principle of Evil Made Flesh album from like 94. And I've listened to it. It's pretty cool. It's just different because the album that actually came out in 96 for Dusk and Her Embrace is my favorite Cradle album. So it's interesting to hear it sort of different in like that older style. But like I said, I couldn't find it on Amazon, and they weren't able to get it again at at Sunrise Records. So I'm going to keep my eye out for that one. But even at this point, I would consider the collection to be complete. I've got all their other studio albums up to this point. So pretty happy with that. All right, let's move on here to some Paizo products. Now, the first few things that I'm going to show here were sent to me for review purposes, so I will have some videos on them, or I'll show off what's available in this video in the case of the map packs. But we're going to start with This is the remastered Deck of Endless Treasure. And I don't know if I had, because I think this is just regular equipment. Or there actually, oh, it looks like actually it's a way of creating unique magic items. Okay, so I'm going to definitely have to test this one out. There were decks in the past for like their regular equipment and weapons and armor and magic items, stuff like that. I have some of those decks, but yeah, this one's like for making custom items. That's actually really cool. So I'll be doing a video for that sometime in the future. It did come a little dinged up, unfortunately, especially on the bottom there, but it is what it is, I guess. All right, up next, you got a couple things I just want to clear off here. So we'll touch on them momentarily. And so again, these were things that were sent to me for video purposes. So we got a Pathfinder Flip Map City Districts multi-pack. And again, I've been using a ton of these in my current like Starfinder game. I actually wish I had this map when I started running the Claws of the Tyrant. So in my current Starfinder game, there's a major event that's taken place or is about to take place. The finale of the finale of it's going to take place in the Starfinder timeline, but it traces its origins all the way back to pre-Gap Galarian. So the Claws of the Tyrant is a 3-part sort of anthology book where the adventures are connected, but you're separated by several different class levels, and you're kind of intended to make different characters throughout. So my plan is that they found a data file that had the history of the first scenario where they're playing like first level characters. And then eventually, a little bit down the road, they're going to find another data file that has them playing like these higher level characters. And then the finale of that campaign will take place in the Starfinder timeline, because I think it goes up to like 18th level characters. So anyway, but this would have been really cool for the first scenario, because there was a section where they were sneaking through a town that had been inhabited by undead with a bunch of other survivors, and they're trying to escape and bring this artifact or this relic to another nearby city. And so this map actually would have been pretty handy, because I could have used that to simulate some of the buildings and stuff. But yeah, really, really cool. Again, these flip mats, I've been using a ton of these in my Starfinder game. We've also got the Starfinder Flip Map multi-pack Cityscape. So again, some cool stuff here. So there's the different maps that are included in there. So I've been, like I said, using these. I've been going through and just looking at the maps that I have. And if something, kind of strikes out to me, I'll try to write an adventure around it. And it's been a lot of fun doing that for my current Starfinder campaign for... ever since the playtest came out is when I started doing that. So at least the last 6 months or so, if not a little bit longer. I can't remember exactly when that came out. And then we've got the final thing from Paizo that was sent to me, and this is something I'm really, really happy to have. This is the remastered, updated version of the Gatewalkers Adventure Path. Now, when I first saw that they were doing this, I was a little bit surprised, because I thought that this was a pretty recent adventure path, but it actually came out a while ago. It was released to coincide or to take advantage of the Dark Archive book. But this is a campaign that is like just like the next Pathfinder game that I run after my Starfinder game ends is going to be this one. It's very like Lovecraftian, cosmic horror, missing time. Type of like conspiracy campaign, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to go through. So the hardcover compilation is out, and I'm actually going to be doing another video here coming up, which is going to be all about adventure collections. So like Adventure Path compilations or campaign compilations are going to be like previously released adventures or modules that are recombined into a single book. So it's not going to have things necessarily like just anthology books like Tales from the Yawning Portal or Tales from the Infinite Staircase. Those are great books, and they have some really cool stuff in them, but they're not really meant to be like an interconnected story. So I'll be doing a video on those, because I actually have a fair amount of like these books that combine previously released scenarios into a cohesive campaign. So it'd be kind of fun to talk about those. So that's a video that'll be coming out, again, very, very soon. So that was the stuff that Paizo had sent to me, but they also had a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe longer. I honestly have not been tracking time well this summer, but they had a Founders Day sale. And essentially what it was a decent sale on first edition Pathfinder and Starfinder products. Now, when it comes to first edition Pathfinder, I'm pretty happy with what I have. My entire collection, with the exception of one book and one box set, are all pocket editions. And the only reason that the book that I have, the hardcover book that I have, is in my collection is because it never was released as a pocket edition. But I wanted to get, for Starfinder, I only ever picked up the core book as a pocket edition. And I love these things. They're my preferred way to have my resources at the table. I don't have a ton of space at my table when I'm running games, so the smaller form factor is really, really beneficial. So I bought all the Starfinder pocket editions that they had listed, and I think it's all of them. I don't think they really went too far with the Starfinder pocket editions, which is a bit of a shame, because there's some great books that I would love to see re-released in those pocket edition forms. But I already have shown the core rulebook. I know that like a long time ago, so that's upstairs, because I was referencing that in my Starfinder game. But I also picked up the Alien Archive, the Alien Archive 2. I don't think they ever did Alien Archives 3 or 4. I don't recall them ever actually releasing those as pocket editions. I don't recall seeing them anywhere, so if they did, let me know. Again, I just bought all the ones that were listed on Paizo's website. So in addition to those, let's move those up there. In addition to those, I also picked up the Armory book, as well as the Pact Worlds book. So these were the pocket edition books that they had listed on their website for their Founders Day sale. And yeah, I have all these obviously in hardcover, but it's just cool to have the pocket editions. So once the Starfinder second edition stuff fully comes out, like the player core, the GM core, and the alien core, I will find a place down here with my first edition Pathfinder pocket edition collection to put the Starfinder stuff there. But really, really cool stuff. All right. Now, as the last few things here, these are related to the to Dungeons and Dragons, and these were items that I purchased myself, starting with a decent sale on WizKid's website, and I actually have the second bundle of like the pack that went along with this one. I also have that ordered. It just shipped out, so I'll probably have that in a little while. But this is the Icons of the Realms Legend of Drizzt, and I'm trying to avoid heavy glare there. But this is the Companions of the Hall, as well as Artemis Entreri. So you got Drizzt, you have Regis, you have Guinevere, you have Wulfgar, Catti-brie, and Brunor. And again, we got our assassin up there with Charon's Claw, or Charon's Claw, however you pronounce that. So this is a really, really cool set. This is just, being hung up on my wall. And then there's I think it's called Adversaries, because it's like the Companions. So I think the other one is Adversaries, and it has Jarlaxle. It has, I think it has Gromf. It has Zignafian, Drizzt's father, as well as, I think, Malice Stewart, and maybe some of the other Benaires. But yeah, this is just a really, really cool set. And again, I love the Legend of Drizzt stories. I've got, almost all of them. I have fallen behind recently. I really got to pick back up and get the ones that I'm missing. But yeah, just a really, really cool set. Again, the other set that will be coming will also have, they also feature Drizzt and Gwen. And then the other 1, 2, 3, other 5 are going to be other characters. But yeah, really cool to have that. All right, and the next thing, or actually the next two things, are the same thing, just different covers. And again, I bought these from 401 Games in Toronto. But what we have here is Dragon Delves. So this is an adventure anthology. Again, these are new scenarios. They're not previously released things kind of grouped back together. But this is a really cool book. It's got, I think, 10 scenarios included, one for each of the dragon types from the monster manual. It does only show the chromatic on the front. Does it show the metallics on the back? Yeah, it kind of, well, no, not exactly. But it also features the metallic dragons as well. And some of them are in like a patron role or an adversarial role. They may be doing it against their will, or they may have their other reasons for it. But this is a book I will be doing a separate video on. The adventures are fairly short and self-contained, so you could easily drop one into the middle of your campaign. I'm not going to say too much about the book here in this video, because this is just showing that I have it. I will be doing a review video, but each of the 10 scenarios included seem to all have, or most of them have, their own unique art style. And some of it is, I think is absolutely fantastic. Others is not my cup of tea. But again, art is subjective. There's one that's very like children's modern day cartoon like style to it, which I'm not a fan of. But if you're trying to get somebody that's younger in your family interested in this game, showing them that artwork, that art style might actually grab their attention. So it is what it is, but this is the standard cover. I also like on the back here, I don't know why, but sort of like this gradient, like bright red going up sort of darker as it progresses. Reminds me of the backing of some of those like old school AD&D first edition modules. I don't know if that's what they were going for or not, but I do kind of like that look. And again, you can kind of see it on the spine there as well. It just has that like old module kind of feel to it. But in addition to that, I picked up, and I'm not going to do this with everything, but if there's an alternate cover that I really like, I am going to go for it. And this one here, I think is absolutely fantastic. Like, so this has the red dragon on the cover there, and the art style is very like, fluorescent, or what would you call it there? It's like the glow paint, right? Like I just picture this on like a black velvet canvas, and you have like a black light on it, and it's just glowing. I also think that on its own, this design would make an amazing t-shirt. So if they ever put out a t-shirt with this design on it, I would love to pick that up. So there we go. So we got the Dragon Delves. This is the latest book that's come out for 5e D&D. I picked this up from 401 Games in Toronto. They're not much for local game stores in my area that I have easy access to, that I want to go to. There is one, but the owner of the store has a reputation that's well earned, and I'm not going to spend any of my money there. But I do like 401. They offer really good prices on things, and I'll actually be going there in August because we're going back to Toronto for a few days. And who knows, I might actually take some pictures or videos of stuff while I'm there and actually do a video for it. We'll see how that goes. So those are the latest updates, or the latest things added to my collection, but there is a little bit more to talk about. So I did have my games at KingCon. And so when I was there, I ran 2 games. On a Saturday, I ran a D&D 5th edition game. And on Sunday, I ran a Pathfinder 2nd edition game. Now, I didn't run the starter set or the beginner box scenario. I actually ran the Doomsday Dawn adventure from the playtest. For the 2nd edition playtest, just using the monster stats from the Monster Core book. But I used a ton of resources from my beginner box. This is actually my sealed copy. The other one is just a little bit too far out of reach for me right now. But yeah, it was a really good time, actually. Back in 2018, I ran some games at HalCon, which is a much larger convention that brings people from at least all the maritime provinces, not even a little bit further away. And there's like thousands of people there for that one. And I did not enjoy that experience at all. Initially I tried to convince myself that I had a good time. I even initially set out to volunteer again the next year in 2019. But the closer we got to everything, just my nerves and social anxiety and stuff that was just really building up in me, and I realized, looking back, like I really hated my experiences running games at that convention because the gaming room was the size of the entire KingCon venue, and you just had so many people running games all tightly packed together. There wasn't a lot of breathing room. There was one person that was running a scenario that involved an unlikable NPC being tortured, so he role-played it by having the NPC scream at the top of his lungs. And instead of just saying that he screams at the top of his lungs, he actually did scream at the top of his lungs, which, I guess if that's the level of commitment you want to role-playing, that's fine. But man, it was hard on my head. I just had a miserable experience. But with this one, I really had a good time. Now, we'll talk about the 5e game first. So it was sort of a chopped down version of one of the Age of Worms Adventure Path installments, the Encounter at Blackwall Keep. And that game had 5 players available, or 5 slots available, and they filled up pretty quickly. Once the list went up online for you to sign up for, I'd say within a week, maybe a week and a half, that game had filled up. The Pathfinder game didn't fill up until a few days before the con, but I still had full tables for both games, which is really cool. I didn't quite have that for the HalCon games back in 2018 because I was running my own scenarios, or I was running like Starfinder, and then I ran a Dragon Age game, so it was what it was. But the D&D game went really well. It was a 4-hour time slot, and they finished up within, there was about 20 minutes left, which there was a final encounter that I had planned as like an optional one, but I felt like 20 minutes they might have been able to get it done, but I didn't want to have to rush anything, so we just kind of ended the scenario. But essentially, you've got these lizard folk that have been becoming more and more aggressive, and they've been attacking this Blackwall Keep in the Mist Marsh. And as it turns out, something is behind this newfound aggression. And the players delivered some supplies. They fought some bandits off on the way there. And they did really well in the siege. I was actually genuinely worried that to defeat the number of lizard folk that I had required of them, or that I had written in, might have been too much, but they were pretty efficient in dispatching them, and we didn't even lose a single human defender. They were all conscious by the end of the fight, because the cleric was actually healing them up when they went down, as opposed to just focusing solely on the player character. So there was some cool stuff. There was one of the players threw down. There were lizard folk trying to bash down the door. So there was one threw a flask of oil down, and it shattered and landed and sort of spread all over those lizard folk that were down there. And then the person playing the wizard cast a firebolt at them and kind of lit them all up and did some heavy damage to them that way. It was a lot of fun. Then they went into the marsh after whatever was causing this, to try to put an end to this once and for all. They struck an alliance with some other lizard folk who had been removed from the tribe because of their unwillingness to go along with their new leader, which ended up being a black dragon. And it ended up being a black dragon that I had to stat out myself, because the hatchling version was too weak, and then the young version was a bit too strong, mostly in terms of what its breath weapon could do. So I ended up making a very young dragon that was kind of a split in between. And boy, they turned on the crit machine for that thing. That fight went pretty quickly, actually. It was pretty brutal. But that's the way that happens sometimes. Overall, it was a really good experience, but I did have it listed as beginner friendly. I toyed with the idea of making it beginner exclusive, which in retrospect I probably should have done. because what we had were 4 of the 5 players were not only familiar with 5th edition, but I think 3 of the 4 even had the latest version of the rulebook. So they actually had the 2024 books that they brought with them to the game. So they were really up to speed on everything that was going on. And then the one player, she hadn't played since 1st edition AD&D and is looking to get back into the hobby. And, I really did my best to try to put her at ease and let her know, just like, take your time, ask as many questions as you need to. And I even told her, it's like, I'd rather you ask the same question 50 times than feel like you can't ask it once. But I can understand the pressure also of being the only one at the table who can't make those like snap decisions, because you just don't know the rules as well. And, she even said afterwards that, like, it was nothing that I did. It's just that she didn't want to hold the game up. And everybody else was so familiar with it that, when it came to her turn, she felt bad, right? And it's like, I really wanted to set her at ease, but I do get it. I'm the same way. Like, if everybody else is doing their thing and they know exactly what's going on, and if I don't, I'll just default to the simplest ideas that I can to try to, keep up, sort of thing. So I do get it, but I felt bad in the end. For the prizes, I gave her the player's handbook because she was completely inexperienced with the current version, but she wants to get into it, so I gave her that. As far as the character sheets and the starter sets go, one of the players at the table was actually a teacher that was starting an after school, or I can't remember if it was an after school or just like a school program where she uses D&D to help teach kids. And I thought that was really, really cool. So she ended up getting one of the starter sets, but one of the other players gave her the character sheets that would have been his. Just saying, here, this will be useful for them as well. And then one of the other players has a son that's looking to get into the game as well. So he had one of the starter sets and was given the other set of character sheets by another player. So at the end of the day, only 3 people walked out with the prizes, but it was a mutual decision that they all kind of just came together for, which was great to see. Everybody did get to walk home with their dice that were provided for the adventure, their character sheet, and their miniature. So everybody left with something. It was a good experience, but again, I felt bad for the novice player because like they just felt so out of place, and they didn't want to take up everybody else's time. And so I think like going forward, I don't know if I were to run D&D at one of these again, I would probably specify like beginners only, because the next day I ran my Pathfinder 2nd edition game, and the group was essentially what I was hoping for out of the D&D game. So there were 4 players for this one, and 3 out of the 4 had never played Pathfinder 2nd edition before. In fact, of those 3 players, this was their first time playing a second RPG. Now, the player who had played 2nd edition Pathfinder had only ever done so online, so even for him, it was a unique experience to get out and play with people face-to-face at a table. So it was kind of a new experience for everybody, with one player, kind of having an idea, but he normally plays like wizard characters, so he picked the rogue, which was about as far away from like the normal character styles that he would play. So that was kind of like an interesting thing with him. I did use the beginner box for its game aid cards that had like the tokens for each of your action points as well as your reactions, so it's easy to keep track of what you've done in the round. Everybody had a pocket edition player core book that was theirs to take home with them, because that way, like throughout the game, if they needed to look up their abilities, then they had the books that they were able to reference. And it was a great time. Like, I had a lot more fun. Like, I enjoyed my 5e game that I ran. Like, I have no real complaints about it, but I love teaching games to people. Like, I enjoy introducing something new to people and kind of like explaining the rules and going through and just, kind of seeing like that process of like somebody learning like this new system. And it was a really, really great time. Like, it was a very rewarding time. And for the 3 players that had never played it before, 2 of them were in the same gaming group, I'm pretty sure, and they were only playing 5th edition D&D, but they wanted to try something new, and they were really impressed with the Pathfinder 2nd edition system. They really liked the 3-action economy. They liked the flexibility that had. They liked the sort of like the so one of the players playing the wizard or cleric. He had a few spells that were different depending on how many actions he pumped into them, sort of thing. So he was really enjoying like that kind of approach to things. And I think at the end of the day, I don't know if they're going to actually pick up the Pathfinder or not, but they did have a really good time and they got to experience something new. The fourth player, this was also only his second ever RPG, but this first one wasn't D&D. The first RPG he ever played was Shadowrun, which I've known tons of people that, obviously that are into RPGs, and I can't think of anyone who's ever said that they've only ever played the Shadowrun role-playing game before. I know people that have played Shadowrun, but I don't know anybody that was like their introduction to tabletop RPGs. But he said, he played like the computer games and the console games for Shadowrun. So when he learned that there was actually a tabletop game, he gave that a try. But yeah, it was a really good, and it was a rewarding experience to teach a new game to people. So, thinking about my plans for next year. Now, this was in July, at the beginning of July, and that weekend was in the middle of a heat wave. And I didn't really notice it right away, but by the time Monday came and I had finished up with the con, I was just completely feeling like garbage. And it's just, I just ended up getting like really dehydrated, and I didn't, once I got my electrolytes back and everything, I started to feel better. So I'm thinking next year, and this will probably change, but I think next year I'm only going to run one game, and I've decided that I want to keep up with things like Pathfinder, where it's maybe known, but not as well, I don't want to say as well known or as well regarded, because I don't think that's quite right. But that's just not as supported in this area, I guess, because you got places that do like D&D games, and you got places that do like Magic and all these other card game stuff, but there's not a lot of places to play some of these other games, and it'd be interesting to sort of build an interest in some of these games to see if we can sort of change that. So that was kind of the idea behind the Pathfinder game, and I think next year my plan is to run Dragonbane, and I am considering if I were to run a second game, then it would be the Alien RPG. So that would probably be like a Saturday night thing. So what I would probably do is if I were to run two games next year, I'd probably want them to both be on the same day. Like maybe one in the morning and one in the evening, type of thing, instead of like the two separate days. But yeah, that's kind of going to be my plan going forward, is to run some of the lesser known RPGs and try to build an audience for those. And I will be giving stuff away at each of those. So like if I do run Alien, my plan is to have starter sets for everybody, and let them, or give those away to them so they can sort of develop an interest in that system. Same thing maybe with Dragonbane. I might try to pick up some extra copies of the core rulebook and hand those out. But we'll see how it goes when we get to next year. But again, I left this one actually genuinely wanting to run next year, and already thinking, like at the time I was done Sunday, I was already thinking to what I wanted to do next year. So it was definitely a much better experience. It was a much smaller con. We had, a couple hundred people at a time as opposed to several thousand. Obviously, it's a much smaller venue, so there was only like a couple of vendors. One was selling dice sets, others was selling, I can't remember exactly what they were selling. I didn't buy anything from there or anything, but I had a really good time, and I'm looking forward to going back. Yeah, so that was sort of, again, my experiences there. What I would say is that next year I'm going to make sure that I've got some Gatorade and some water, and that I definitely keep up on my hydration. But yeah, there we go. So that was the King Con experience, along with some new stuff to add to my collection. Let me know in the comments below. I know Gen Con's coming up, so do you have any plans on playing games at upcoming conventions in your area? What are some of your favorite convention gaming memories? And what are some of the cool things that you've added to your collections? Doesn't have to be RPGs, could be anything. Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, thank you all so very much for your time. I truly appreciate it, and we will see you in the next one. Until then, take care.